Some leaders build their reputation through titles. Others build it through the way they show up. Alex Vidal is the president of ERA Real Estate, leading a global network of more than 40,000 agents across dozens of countries. But his path to leadership didn't begin in the boardroom. He entered the real estate business at 19 years old, starting as a secretary, learning the industry from the ground up. Over the next 2 decades, he built a career defined by discipline, curiosity, and a deep belief that leadership starts with service.
When you call your SOI, you're going to be that realtor, right? But there are ways to check in with your people and just really ask them how they're doing. And if you do it the right way, what ends up happening is the person on the other line, rather than you asking them about real estate, they're going to ask you, like, Darryl, so how's real estate going?
Today, Alex carries another distinction as well, becoming the first Hispanic president of a major national real estate brand, a milestone that reflects both the progress of the industry and the responsibility that comes with leadership. In this conversation, Alex speaks with refreshing honesty about what it takes to lead in today's real estate landscape. He shares the importance of staying grounded through family, discipline, and personal growth, and why authenticity, not perfection, is what ultimately earns trust. This is a conversation about leadership, resilience, and the kind of mindset that keeps you steady in an industry that's constantly evolving. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for Real Estate Unscripted with our very special guest, Alex Vidal. Hi, Alex.
Hey, good morning.
We're very excited to have you guys here. Darryl and Alex are going to have a wonderful conversation. This is Leadership Driven. Darryl and Alex, welcome. Take it away.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody. And Alex, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate this.
I'm excited. Now, before we get started, Darryl, and I didn't notice, I got 2 questions for you. One, and I know you're supposed to be interviewing me. One, what is the football helmet behind you?
Do you want me to tell you now?
Yeah.
That it's really heavy. I can't move it.
Okay, well, just what team is it? What is it?
It's actually Rudy Rudiger's helmet.
Like his actual helmet?
No. It's a fake real helmet. But okay. He not only did he sign it, he wrote one of the speeches in the movie, because I had him as my keynote at one of my events, and just a little story on this. This event, when I started speaking in 1993, I had a vision of a particular type of event that would be transformational, and I always said, I'm going to have Rudy be my keynote. That was over 30 years ago, and so it finally came to fruition, so that means the world to me.
I love it. All right, here's question number 2. It looks like you're wearing a Rolex. Which watch are you wearing? Let's see. It looks like you have the Oyster bracelet or the Jubilee bracelet on.
It's actually I can't say the name. It's not a Rolex. But it's one of those high end. The hands are covering it. It begins with a P.
A P. So, Panerai?
That's the one.
Oh, I have a Panerais are great. I have a Panerai. It's actually, I'm wearing my GPS watch right now, but my Panerai is like my daily driver. I love
Okay.
Panerai.
All right, cool.
So.
Now that everybody knows how wealthy we are, let's get into this. Sorry, everybody. Listen, this is definitely unscripted over here, ladies and gents.
If you go, when you go into your search function on Instagram, I swear to God, if you go to it's literally 3 things. It's food, or working out, stuff like that, dogs, and watches. Like, those are my 3, like everything that's on that search page.
Well, you've got to see, mine's cats. You've got to see, I posted a video on my personal page where I was doing something for Leading RE, and I brought my cat to the office, and it walked right into camera shot. So we posted that as a funny thing.
I was, and we'll get started on this. Somebody asked what kind of dog I have. I have 2. I have an 85-pound Mastiff Pit Bull mix who's, looks mean, and he's like, doesn't like, somebody will break into my house and he'll kiss him and not do anything. And then the other one is a boxer pointer mix. And I was on Schwab TV yesterday, first time on national TV, whatever. And I had to make sure and like load them up with treats and put them outside. So like for the 5 minutes that I was on TV, they were just, busy stuffing their face and not barking.
I've seen those dogs on your social media, and they are scary as all hell.
Yeah. It's awesome though.
All right, so gang, thanks for letting us banter over here, because this guy took total friggin' control of this interview. So let me take control back. Thank you very much, Alex. Before I get into introducing Alex, I do want to say something to everybody who's on the call. You know, we have a mixture of leadership and we have agents as well. And so for those, I want to talk to the agents just for a second. I say this on every one of these, is that I always believe that an agent is a business within the business. You've got your broker who's running the business, but you're a business within that umbrella. And so I'd like you to listen to this conversation as your own business owner. How can you adapt these concepts that Alex will share with us into your personal business? Yeah. So that's how you'll get the value. When it, as far as the chat is concerned, hey, Asmal, you guys can chat away periodically. I may look down at that. So if you want to talk to each other, that's good. But as Julie said, we got the tab that's called Q&A. Put your questions there. And about 40 minutes into this, we'll read your questions. Let me introduce to you who Alex is. Alex is the president of ERA Real Estate, which, by the way, was my first client when I started speaking back in '93.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so you've been there in that position since June of 2023, 40,000 agents, 2,300 offices, 35 countries. But the real amazing and proud thing is he's the first Hispanic president of any major national brand. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. 26 years, real estate career. He started with one of my favorite companies, the Kai's Company, as a secretary at the age of 19. I don't know if you know this, Alex. I got into real estate at 19, but as an agent, not as a secretary.
Yeah.
So maybe I was up on you at that age.
Yeah. So Darryl, you know what's super funny about that? My son, who's 28 now, so I've been in the business 28 years. I try to buy an investment property a year. He just moved to Dallas. He got licensed. Of course, he's my realtor. So he asked me yesterday, he's like, hey, he goes, how was it for you starting out as an agent? Like, what was your first year like? And I was like, I kind of came in backwards because I was a secretary and then a recruiter. And then I became a sales coach to brand new agents getting into the business, because at the time they opened an office right across the street from me. And I told Roger, who was the broker owner, I'm like, Roger, like, put me in the office. I've already put all the agents in there. Make me the sales manager.
Okay.
And he goes, we can't make you the sales manager. You've never sold real estate. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make you the sales coach. Okay. To brand new agents getting into the business. And I was like, but okay, so I can't manage the office because I've never sold real estate, but you're going to make me the sales coach to the brand new agents getting into the business. He's like, yeah, they're brand new. They don't know what they're doing anyways. And so I had a leg up in the fact that, I was coaching for a year, all these people on how to do real estate. So by the time I got into it, like I had a head start, but yeah, so my path was a little different.
A little backwards. Well, hey, listen, it also worked for Tom. He's doing really well, and he's never been licensed ever. So there you go. Yeah. All right, let's see. What do we got? Career span. So the Kai's Company, Prudential, ERA as a VP, president for 6 years at Related ISG, Coldwell Banker, regional VP. So boy, just all over the place. Such a breadth of experience. Yeah. Became a father at 19 too, which is, I can see why that's a motivator. Now, this is a part of your success or your story that I almost don't like, and that is you're an Ironman triathlon finisher. So you're really into working out and health. I don't care for that too much in my personal life. Yeah. And I can't relate to people who work out. So, good for you. Keep doing it. I'm going to stay at home on my couch.
It's my therapy, man. Like, the physical benefits are great, but I think it's amazing how many ideas I come up with, or if I have something on my mind that I'm trying to work through, that I come back from the run and then I jump in my car. And I'm like, oh shit, I figured it out.
I've heard that the adrenaline, the working out, it helps with creativity. I just do a fireball and I'm good.
Hey, I do that too sometimes. Don't worry about it.
All right, okay.
You can't be singular in what you do, Darryl. You gotta multitask.
I have a feeling, Julie, there's going to be a lot of edits to this final interview. Okay, because we're talking about everything, but other than
focus, you guys, focus.
All right. Here we go. We're going to start with the questions now. So, Alex, you started at 19 as a secretary, a teenage father trying to build a life for his family. Take us back to that moment. What did you see in the industry that made you believe that this could change your life? And I know you said you went backwards, so tell me how that beginning was for you.
I didn't see anything in the industry. What happened? It was a paycheck. It was actually a job. Okay, so long story short, I was 18, got my girlfriend pregnant, had my son at 19. I was a camp counselor, needed a real job. I was never really a big school guy. I did like half a semester in college, but I was working full time and needed to be a father full time. It just didn't work out. So dropped out of college and just focused on my career. The only reason I got into real estate was I had an opportunity to either A, go sell advertising at the Miami Herald, which was a job that my mom just retired after 50 years. You know, she got it for me at 20 something years into being at the Herald to sell online advertising, or become the secretary at Kai's. And what I did was my parents, it's crazy just thinking back about it. Like my parents had a program on their big IBM computer that I could send my resume to fax numbers. And I faxed my resume, CPA, fax, like I sent it everywhere. It didn't matter. I just went down the line. And the only reason I took the job with Kai's as Mike Pappas' secretary was because it was a job that I got on my own. And, you know, when you get a girl pregnant at 18, you have your son at 19, you don't think very highly of yourself at the time. Like you kind of think like, shit, did I mess up, et cetera. And so I figured if I messed up again, this was on my own. Like it was just something that I would mess up. Whereas if I took a job with my mom and I messed up, it would reflect on her.
Got it.
And that's how I got started. And, you know, the trajectory kind of was when you're around these C-level suite people, you hear what they're complaining about. And I learned very quickly to build a career on filling the hole in the donut, like literally across the board. Like my 28 years, that's been like the underlying foundation. And Mike, who you've had on your podcast, would always talk about how, man, we're hiring 70 or 80 agents a month, but we're losing 70 or 80 agents a month. And I'm literally opening his mail every day. And he would get a piece of mail once a week that was a list of all the brand new agents who just got into the business, okay, with their names, their phone numbers. And I'm like, hey, I was making $21,000 a year. And I was like, can I start calling on these agents and seeing if I can set up appointments for the different branch managers of Kai's? They had like 30 offices at the time. You know, sure, I'll pay you whatever it was. And apparently I was pretty good at it. And within 10 months, I was promoted to Mike's recruiting director, and then kind of just took off, you know, secretary, recruiting, telemarketer, recruiting director, sales coach, sales leadership. Throughout those years, there were long stretches with people, 5 years here, 6 years there. Florida, California in my early 20s, Colorado in my early 30s. And then I moved to Dallas in my early 40s, and I've been here 5.5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, but I want to highlight for our listeners that, you know, what I just heard, which is really awesome, is the entrepreneurial spirit that exists there for you at that age. Like you saw this problem of recruiting and losing the same amount. You see the mail, you see this list, and you created from nothing a job for yourself that sets you on the path to sitting here and us having this conversation today. So that's pretty amazing. And I want just to highlight for everybody listening is to look at your business that way. Where can you be thinking like an entrepreneur and be different from other agents? Where can you create opportunities for yourself like Alex did in that story? So that was awesome.
And you know what the crazy thing is, Darryl? Now at this point, you know, with my own coaching program that I've done, I put over, 30,000 agents through it with Coldwell Banker and ERA and even related back then. You don't have to do a lot. And this is going to sound so silly, but like you really don't have to do a lot to distinguish yourself from the other realtors, right? It is amazing to me, and we can go down whatever rabbit hole you want. How many agents would rather go door knocking, okay, than they would pick up the phone and check in on somebody in their sphere of influence, right? It's like real estate 101. It's the hardest, easiest thing you can do.
Absolutely.
Like, we can get into AI. We can get into all that stuff. Like we can do all that. And that's cool. We can go down those different rabbit holes, but you really don't have to do much to separate yourself from your competitors. I think the NAR stat is the average consumer knows 12 or 13 realtors, something like that.
Okay. I haven't heard that stat, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's a huge stat. And then you look at why customers go to Zillow and they choose an agent off of Zillow. And the reality is, if agents just did what mattered most, which was create a deep, meaningful connection with their client,
Mm-hmm.
where shit, you probably taught this too, and I did back in the day. We were taught to teach people, or we did it ourselves, to call people in our sphere of influence and ask them, who do you know that may be interested, or actually started with, do you know of anyone who may be interested in buying or selling real estate?
Right, right.
And it was like, oh, the psychology change. We can't do that because that's a yes or no question. You want to ask an open-ended question. So you want to ask, who do you know that may be interested in buying?
Right.
And realtors, especially those that have been in the business a long time, we've been conditioned that when you call your SOI, you're going to be that realtor, right? But there are ways to check in with your people and just really ask them how they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it the right way, what ends up happening is the person on the other line, rather than you asking them about real estate, they're going to ask you, like, Darryl, so how's real estate going?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, when the customer has invited you into the conversation, their wall is down because they invited you in versus you inviting yourself to the party, right? It's just a different animal, but it's hard, but it's easy.
Well, what you're saying is there's the difference between doing real estate and being real estate. And doing real estate is like, let me find, the right strategy, the right door knocking piece, the right script. Whereas what you're talking about is just being in relationship with people, connecting with them, just talking to them, and kind of just show up and focus on that connection. So, I mean, that's what I heard as well, what you said.
Here's a great question for the audience. If you know that the average consumer knows 12 realtors, so you look at your phone, there's all these people in your phone, and each of them know 12 to 13 realtors. If you were to ask yourself the honest question, am I their clear favorite out of the 12 or 13 people? Your answer is, I don't know. Then it's not a knock, but an awesome opportunity that you have ahead of yourself to make yourself the clear favorite. And that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yes.
Went down that rabbit hole, but
no, that's great. I hope this rabbit hole was good. Anybody in the chat, was that helpful? Let us know. I'd like to see that. And I'm sure Alex would as well. All right, here's next thing. Your parents fled from Cuba to escape the communism and built their wealth through home ownership in Miami, from my research. How is that, watching that journey, shape the way you think about real estate, not just as a business, but as a vehicle for freedom?
Well, it's a couple things, right? So the story goes back to the 60s. Fidel Castro takes over. On my dad's side, my uncles and my grandfather were political prisoners. They were fighting against Fidel Castro. My grandmother, who was the real boss of the family, essentially sold all her jewelry, bribed the judge, got my uncle and my grandfather out of jail, sent them to Spain, and sent my dad to Miami. And my dad was a groundskeeper for the Catholic high school. And that's how he paid for his high school tuition. Essentially, was in exchange for tuition, he was a groundskeeper, right?
Okay.
My mom's family, super wealthy. My grandfather had appliance stores and sneaker stores and all that. They had to essentially con him out of getting out of Cuba. So my mom traveled with my grandmother to Chicago to visit some family. Her grandmother wasn't of great health. So they called my grandfather and grandmother and said, you need to come to Chicago. We don't know if she's going to make it. You need to come here. And they fled Cuba. And once they fled, they couldn't go back. Right. And it was the best thing that ever happened. And so I saw a couple things. I saw what home ownership did in the sense of giving them the stability, right? They've been in the same home since I was 7 years old. So 41 years. They bought it for like $100,000. It's probably worth close to 3 million now because it's on the water and on, in Miami and stuff. But it also taught me, interestingly enough, when I speak to my dad, when I was moving from Miami to Dallas, right? I asked my dad, I said, if you can look back on your career, we're talking about crying. I may get emotional. We're talking about, like, I may get emotional thinking about this. I go, what's the one thing that you regret that you wish you didn't do? And he said two things. He said really one, which was, he was an engineer. There was an opportunity for him to go design this big bridge in Tampa, right? And the reason he didn't go was because my grandmother and my mom's side said, you guys can't leave Miami. You have your kids. We watch your kids, your family. And so he chose to stay rather than go. And he's like, I really wish I would have gone. Who knows what that would have done for my career. And he's like, so I don't want you to go to Dallas, but I don't want you to have the same regrets that I did. So what my parents really taught me was, and I'm trying to hold it together here. What my parents really taught me was, we've been through enough in life that if you lose it all, like, you can always bounce back. And what's interesting is I have lost it all twice in my life. I'm 48. I'm going to be, I'm 47. I'm going to be 48 in May. I've gotten divorced twice. And every time I just came back even stronger. And so, like, my parents taught me that you can go through some serious things in life to where you have to, like, leave your country, where you're literally working to pay for your tuition or whatever, and you can still be grateful for what you have. And what my dad taught me was, take the risk. I didn't. Take the risk, because if you take the risk, you're going to be okay, because we're Vidals. We have grit. We can bounce back from anything. I know it didn't really answer the home ownership piece.
No, that's okay. You is an honest answer. But now I need to ask you this, is that going through those divorces, what was that like for you? Like, how did you get through that? Because that's a hard thing for people.
Yeah. So the first time, listen, when my girlfriend got pregnant at 18, I did the right thing. We got married, and you should never get married at 18. Like, that's not a good thing. Got divorced. We actually lasted 6 years, which was amazing. And then a few months later, I got divorced, met my ex-wife now, and we were together for almost 20 years. Right. So we were together for a really long time. And that one was hard to get through. And I will never forget, like, this was January 2023. So just over 3 years ago. I was a wreck. Right. And I went down to Miami and to go visit my family. And I remember going out onto a beach, and it just started rain. I went by myself to the beach, and it started raining. And I just sat there, and I just remember, like, looking up, like, I almost felt like this is, and I believe a lot in energy, and I believe a lot in people's frequency and the vibe. And you walk into a room, and you either have a tidal wave of positivity or a tidal wave of negativity. And I just remember, like, this just being washed of everything. It's really weird. So I came back, I wrote down on a vision. I just remodeled my house, but I had on my living room wall, which is right next to my left, I had 2 vision boards, right? And well, I started with 1 and then ended up 2. And on that vision board, I was like, okay, what are the things that I'm feeling? I need to rebound from my finances, because divorces will do that to you. I need to rebuild my social circle, because most of our friends were through her and through tennis, right? I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do from a goal perspective. And I wrote it all down. Who are my friends that I do have that maybe they're not in Dallas, but they're somewhere, that these are relationships I need to focus on. But what were my financial goals? And my financial goals were literally sell my house, buy a new house, get promoted. Okay. This was March of 2023. Physical goals: escape Alcatraz, which is a crazy triathlon where the swim portion of the race is you escape Alcatraz Island, do an Ironman. And then I had other, stuff that I wanted to do. And I literally every day, when you're going through that stuff, you kind of ask yourself sometimes, like, what am I doing today? And I looked at that board, and I said, if I don't know what I'm doing today, I'm going to do something that gets me closer to those goals. And when I had a lot to do, like when you're being pulled in different directions, like, hey, let's go do that. Let's go do this. I looked at the board, and I said, okay, does any of this get me closer to what's on there? If it does, then I'll do it. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to do it. So, like, you're newly single and all that stuff. I'm training for a huge race. Like, I was in bed Friday nights by 8 o'clock. I was in bed Saturday nights by 8 o'clock, because those are the big training days, or Saturday and Sunday. And even though my friends are like, come on, let's go. Like, it just didn't get me closer to where I wanted to be. And so what they taught me are, like, you're going through stuff is inevitable. Okay. That's where having goals and having the discipline, whether you want to or not, to go after those goals is what gets you out of it. And within 3 months, I sold my house, I bought my new place, I got promoted, and I escaped Alcatraz, all within a matter of, I think it was like 8 days, something like that. It was crazy. It was crazy stuff, man. Wow.
Well, I asked that, and I'm sure some people might be wondering why I would even ask that, because, for you, it was divorce with that question. But I know all of us business owners, agents, that we have these moments of challenges that emotionally it's hard to see how to get out of it. And, what I heard you just say is that you actually put a plan to it. Like you didn't allow yourself to get taken over by the challenges or the emotional experience of dealing with a divorce. You said, all right, like when you just said, I've got to get a new circle of friends because it was too connected to her and that was part of your, like, to me, that's like a brilliant strategy to implement to help you get out of any mental funk that exists when you're dealing with that.
Well, and Darryl, you know, the crazy thing is, right? Like I'm overall a pretty positive person. And the way, you know, you joked before we jumped on air, like, or maybe I think you joked on air about having done an Ironman or whatever it is, like that, the same way you train for an Ironman or any race or your fitness or your nutrition or whatever, you have to train your mindset. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll give you a perfect example. Because I'm not immune to those dips. Neither is Tony Robbins, but he's definitely built systems to get himself out of it. And I have systems. I'll give you a perfect example. Last week, we had our ERA National Convention, right? 1,000 people showing up. Darryl, I want you there next year, by the way. We got to talk about that.
Okay.
So we have our ERA National Convention. We got 1,000 people coming to Austin. And within 48 hours of our convention about to start, we had, you mentioned Tom Ferry before. We were having Tom and Mike Ferry on stage for the first time ever. Not to like give each other a hug, but they were going to do like a dueling keynote, right?
Yeah.
Mike's wife, unfortunately, got sick. And I know you know Mike well enough that Mike doesn't travel anywhere without his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Mike had to cancel. So one of our main keynotes canceled. Okay. We like to host our conventions in the hotel. That way you're like, hey, if you're busy, you got to take a call. You can go right up. You don't have to leave.
Yeah.
And go there. Like, it's just easier when it's self-contained.
Yep.
Hotel had 6 elevators, 4 of them broke.
Oh,
Okay. And then very tragically, there was a mass shooting in Austin Sunday morning. Our convention started Monday. Last week, it was a week ago, or almost 2 weeks ago. And, or no, I guess it would be 2 weeks ago. And, you know, you have everybody about to fly in, learning about a mass shooting that happened half a mile from our hotel. Mm. I woke up Sunday morning to having learned already about Mike, having learned about the elevators, and then learning about this shooting. And I was in a funk, man. Like I was like, mother effer. I could not believe after all the immense effort that went into this, we're dealing with this. And so I went to my control. We talked about working out, like for the mental. I went for a run because running is where I get my clarity. And I went for a run, didn't do anything. I came back, I was still like,
oh, wow. Okay.
You know? So I put in my heavy metal music. I went to the gym and I lifted the heaviest weights. No rhyme or reason. Like it wasn't like I take Sundays off from doing stuff. Whatever I can find. Like how much weight can I put on the bar? I'm going to lift it. And then like after 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back. Let's go.
Okay, good.
So I share that with you because, you know, you're never going to be immune to stuff happening in your life. Mm-hmm. You have to have systems in place. And I could share with you what I kind of do, but you have to have systems in place that help you so that when you do encounter the negative, you're not in a funk for a week or a month or a year, matter of hours, and then you can bounce yourself back out of it, right? And a lot of that is gratitude and exercising and stuff like that, but we can talk about that too. But you know, if you're facing adversity, and you will, and you want, like I love facing adversity because when I face the adversity, when I have a win, the win is just
much sweeter.
Oh man, yes. If you win all the time, like there's no fun in that, right?
And so actually, if you won all the time, there's no distinction that it's even winning. Like what I've said this before, like if we didn't have hot water, there wouldn't be cold water. It would just be water. It's the distinction. If we didn't have night, we wouldn't have day. If we didn't have joy, we wouldn't, or sadness, we wouldn't have joy. So yes, we should accept or embrace to some extent when things are not going well, because like you just said, it makes it sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is some real profound stuff. I hope people are taking notes, because what I also heard in what you just said is to have, number one, being human means you're going to have funky days. You're going to get depressed. You're going to get upset, whatever the case is. And even the greats have that. Nobody's happy all the time. But the second thing is, how quick do you bounce back?
Yeah.
Some people, they don't bounce back quick enough, and maybe that's because they don't have the tools to help them. So what's the tools? Like my son, he does telephone sales, and he kills it. He fixed six-figure kid, blah, blah, blah. And his thing is every morning he gets on his phone and his Instagram, and he looks for motivational speeches, faith-based. He's very close to our faith. And so he sets that's a tool that he uses to keep his head straight in the game. So everybody should have some tools. You've got the working out, the running, all right. So,
and the other one's gratitude too. So like and this is something I learned. There's a great TED Talk by a guy named Sean Aker, ACHOR.
Yes.
It's called The Secret to Happiness at Work. It's a 12-minute TED Talk. It's hilarious. It's raunchy. You should watch it. If you haven't, it's great. But he talks about gratitude and about how, gratitude can rewire your brain. And he talks about writing down 3 things for which you're grateful for every day.
Wait a second. I want the power agents to hear this, because now not everybody on this call is a power agent. Okay. But what he's now sharing, Alex, is why we do our Monday wins of the week. It's from Sean Aker, what he's sharing specifically. Go ahead, Alex.
So here's how you take it to the next level. What I did was I was writing down 3 things for which I was grateful for, but then I'm like, all right, I'm going to start writing 5. And every day I would write down 5 things for which I was grateful for. The key to it is to not repeat yourself. Like, I'm grateful for Starbucks today, but I don't, even though I may be grateful for Starbucks tomorrow, I'm not going to write it down. Right. And so it was initially started with 5. And then one day I was the nail, not the hammer. And I wrote down the 5 things for which I was grateful for. And I was like, man, I really don't feel much better. So I just kept writing and writing and writing and writing. And I got to like, Darryl, literally 25 things on this sheet of paper that happened to me that I was grateful for. And I wasn't paying attention to, because I was paying attention to the one thing that had happened to me. So from that moment forward, I made a rule, and now it's a 5, 10, 25 rule, that on great days, I wrote down 5 things for which I was grateful for. On bad days, I wrote down 25. So I had my boys doing this, and my now 19-year-old son came to me and said, well, hey, Daddy, I have a question for you. On great days, we write 5. On bad days, we write 25. What if I have an okay day? And I said, well, Aiden, what do you think? And he goes, how about 10? And so the rule, and we coach this in ERA, is like 5, 10, 25 things for which you're grateful for. And the key is pen to paper. I have a pen to paper. Here's why. There's psychology with what's called endowment effect and loss aversion. I love psychology. Endowment effect is the principle that once you own something, you place a higher value on it versus something you don't. And we all experience that in our business. Sellers. Every seller thinks their home is worth more than what it actually is because they raised little Timmy in the house. And, the next family is going to be able to raise their little Timmy. And oh my God, they're going to live the best life. So you pay an extra 50 grand, right? Loss aversion is the principle that once you own something, the power of losing it is 2 times stronger than the power of a gain. The question becomes is if we place higher value on something that we already own and and the power of losing that is stronger than a gain, how do we gain ownership of things? So if you notice in stores, they no longer have the please do not touch signs. You just don't see them anymore. They want you to touch, because what psychology has taught retailers is the more people touch things, the more they take ownership of it. So really take ownership of your gratitude is literally a pen. Yeah, you could do it in your phone, but when you write it, a pen to the paper. And interesting, Darryl, this is a study they should do. I would love to see the cancellation rate of contracts before dot loop came in. Like when we literally had to meet with a customer and a customer had to sign at the bottom of every single page.
Yes.
Whatever, and then sign the contract, because I guarantee you those cancellation rates were lower than they are today, where somebody doesn't even know what they're signing. They're just a click. Because once you sign a contract, they're already thinking, oh my God, I own this home, right? Like they're taking ownership of it. So if you're going to do the gratitude and you really want to take it to the next level, write it down, because it'll give you the ability to like just take ownership of it. Oh, and pro tip. Okay. Let's say Darryl's my buyer. And Darryl tells me one of the key things he wants is a house with a really big yard, or maybe he wants an outdoor kitchen because he loves smoking brisket and ribs and all that stuff. And I know this in advance. I've already looked at the photos. I'm going to be showing Darryl property today. And if I go to 123 Elm Street, that's got a killer outdoor kitchen. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow Darryl outside with my phone. Okay. And as soon as Darryl, what does every man do when they go to an outdoor kitchen? Without fail, they open the damn grill. Single time. You want to have your camera out. Take a picture of Dale as he's opening the grill. What happens is later on, you'd be like, hey, today was a really great day looking at the properties. I appreciate your time, whatever you're doing, your follow-up. And you text them that message. Okay. You would be shocked at how that gets you over deals. The one house I bought with my ex-wife before we moved to Dallas, we saw it right after a hurricane. So it was all boarded up. So it was super dark. It had dark wood floors. It had green walls, but it was sitting on a 49,000 square foot lot in Davie, Florida. And I remember we walked out to the yard. With my ex-wife now, we have 3 amazing boys. And even though we're divorced, we get along great. We actually bought a property together post-divorce as an investment.
Nice.
It can remain in the school district and all that stuff. She's one of my closest friends.
Nice.
She goes, oh my God, I can't wait for the boys to play here. Like, they're all soccer players. Like, this is going to be amazing. We do the inspection. The inspection came out that the house had to be replumbed, $20,000, like all this stuff. And I'm like, we can't buy this house, Priscilla. Like, we don't have the 20 grand to replumb it, whatever. She goes, I'll risk it. We're buying the house. She goes, our boys are playing in the yard. And that's an example of her having already taken ownership of the kids playing in the yard, right? And so I know we're talking about gratitude, but you can't apply this in your business.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. All right. So you succeeded Sherry Chris, an absolute icon. She's going to be on this interview. How did you approach stepping into her shoes as the legend she is and putting your own stamp on the brand?
Sure. So listen, Sherry's an amazing leader. I really don't worry about what my predecessor did because it has no bearing on how I lead, right? So what I did initially and immediately was I have a way of leading. My way of leading is the agents are the boss, okay? They are the ones generating the revenue, I'm the expense to the company. That's the way I've learned in my 28 years in the business. And there's like that Gladiator movie, if you win the crowd, you get everything you want. I knew coming in, if I could help win the crowd, not only will our agents become even bigger raving fans of their broker saying, oh my God, I love being with ERA. I love being here. Thank you so much. They're going to become raving fans of ERA. And so my leadership style is very hands-on. I just lead the way I lead, right? And if it works for our brand, great. And if it doesn't, then maybe it wouldn't have been the right move for me. And what was interesting is when I was and I want to backtrack a little bit because I think it's important for people to know. I was running a brokerage in Miami called Related ISG International Realty. Took it over in June of 2014. They had 2 offices, 40 agents. I took over and they literally said, Alex, you got till the end of the year, kid. Let's see what you got. At the end of the year, they said, you got 1 more year. Fast forward 6 years, 6 offices, 600 agents, 666 on Friday the 13th. Beautiful.
Wow.
I was ecstatic where I was. I loved my brokers. I loved where we lived. But when I looked at where I wanted to be in my life a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, from that point, even though I was ecstatic today, that brokerage didn't play a role in where I wanted to be. I wanted to go national.
Okay.
So I made the move over to Coldwell Banker Realty on the company-owned side. That put me within anywhere. And then 3 years into it, 3 brand president roles became available. Okay. Sherry Chris oversaw ERA and Better Homes and Garden.
Right.
And the president for Coldwell Banker on the franchise side got promoted. So I applied to all 3 roles.
Okay.
Not knowing. And they told me, listen, every brand has its own personality. And once you get through the initial interviews, if we like you, we're gonna select you to interview for a particular brand. And then they said, okay, you're gonna interview for ERA. And now looking back, even one day into the role, I realized why. Their broker owners are very much like me. Agents are the boss. We need to do everything in our power to help our agents live a better life, make more money. They are hardworking. There's no ego. They just want to win. And they wanted a leader that would mimic that. And I was that guy. Like, I was in the field. Last year I traveled 174 days. Okay. The year before that, super close. This year I've already traveled like 40 days or 35, whatever, like some crazy number. Then my entire, 80% of what I do, 90% of what I do, because I have an amazing team to handle everything else, is helping our agents and our brokers live a better life and make more money. And it just happens to have worked out that they like the same thing. Right. So I wasn't so much on filling her shoes. Like, I'm not a really big on, I got to do what they did well or whatever. Cause the reality is you
do you.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I was promoted on a Wednesday. That Friday, I used to go to a yoga class every Friday at 6 o'clock. And I was sitting in the parking lot of that yoga class, and I called my boss, Liz Geringer, who's one of the, I don't even call her a boss, I call her a mentor. I call Liz and I'm like, I just want you to know I'm going to redefine the role of what a brand president does. And she's like, huh? I'm like, Liz, I need you to trust me. She goes, I trust you. And she gave me the rope to go out and do what we needed to do. And now it's like we have one of the highest per agent productions in the country. And I think a lot of it is because of what we're doing to help our agents. And amazing when you do that, everything else you want to accomplish comes to fruition. You know?
Yeah, you're perfect. You really are perfect for the brand. I'll tell you, as I said at the beginning of this, that one of my first clients was ERA. And there's a culture about ERA that, not that it's bad with any of the other cultures, but one of the distinct one is the upside down approach where we work for the agents, right? And they're the bosses, if you will. And also a sense of family, an authenticity that we talked about earlier between leadership and the agents, that they're not putting on airs.
They travel to each other. Like if I had, let's say you and I were ERA brokers and I had a problem and I called you for advice, you wouldn't be telling me over the phone, depending on what it is, you'd probably flying in to see me and spend time with me and open up the books and go through it, talk to our agents, talk to our leadership team.
Yeah.
These people, these brokers are like family to each other. They literally travel for their birthdays. Yeah. They're each other's godparents for their kids. We had a broker whose ex-wife passed away. Not wife, ex-wife passed away. Okay. And like all of our top 30 flew in to be there for the funeral to support our broker, even though it was his ex-wife, right? Like it is unlike anything I have seen. And what was super interesting is with Fuel last week, we sat with our National Advisory Council, which guides us on everything that we do. Like I don't come here and say, hey, this is what we're doing. I go to our NAC and say, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? And they guide us. And we had to come to them and say, hey, how do we handle the Austin situation? Do we let people know that, whatever? How do we handle the Mike Ferry announcement, et cetera, et cetera? And this morning I got a call from one of our brokers just saying, I know you always get a lot of stuff, like you don't always get the great calls. I want you to know that was one of the best fuels we've ever had, if not the best fuel. And he's been brand 30 years. The brand rallied around all the stuff that we encountered and not only made it a non-issue, they made sure to pour into the conference even more.
Yes.
It was like the ERA brand is on fire. The value of an ERA franchise just went up. We're back, baby. Like all this stuff.
Right.
And it was because of the group that we have. I don't know. I can't speak for the other brands. I have no idea, but I know not many people would take all the different stuff that we faced and actually turn it into making it, one of the best conferences we've ever done.
It's interesting that you said that. And this is a teaching moment for everybody too, because we had something happen, a very small thing this morning on my team. And it put the team in a bit of a trauma mode, which honestly I created. And, but what happened though is similar to what you're saying. And this is like this, I don't think this is in corporate leadership books, but in adversity that it can coalesce and bring the team closer together, almost like an exercise of let us come together, let's rally, like a bonding exercise from a trauma breakdown situation. Which is what happened at your event too. So that's just awesome. Awesome.
Listen, Darryl, there's a lot of things we can't control. And like there's times where we may be going through a decision on the corporate side, on the back end. And, what I tell our team all the time is there's very little that we're going to say. Once we hear about it, there's very little we're going to say that's going to change it at all. So rather than sit here and complain about it, let's actually get involved. Let's be a part of the guiding process to make sure that when it does take off, it takes off successfully and we can be a part of that success story. So for the broker owners or the agents that are watching, we encounter things every day that are completely out of our control. Mm-hmm. Why even there's absolutely no reason to spend time complaining about it. Right. Your entire energy should be focused on, if my complaining about it's not going to change it, then what can I do to get involved to make sure that things pan out the way I want to at least control the narrative and have it pan out. That happened in the conference. It's happened in other things. And that's just how we run our brand is we're not I'm going with the current. I already know it. Like, I'm not going to try and swim upstream. That's way too hard. So then I'm going to actually double down and then actually get more involved so that I can control the process and try to make it turn out the way I want it to turn out. And at
All
the
right.
end of the day, like, dude, it's real estate, man. Like, we're not curing cancer. We're not going to die. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So now I got to ask you, because it's segue into this, and then we're going to go to questions, which, by the way, gang, so I'm going to ask Alex this one question, and then we're going to go to your questions. So I'm looking at the list here. And so, gang, if you just anything, if it's inappropriate, then I'll just delete your question. but write something. If you got a thought,
I want to know the inappropriate questions.
I know you do. That's why I have to delete it so you don't read it out loud. For gosh sakes! Now, if you were talking to other leaders, brokers, and you were going to say or write a book on saying, here's the 3 leadership tools, techniques, strategies, attitudes, whatever, like 3 tips that you think helps you be a good leader.
Well, that's a good one. 3 tips for being a good leader. Okay. Number 1, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And so one of the things we do, like, there's nothing that I ask my team to do that I'm not willing to do myself.
Okay.
Right. So just as like we tell our broker owners to call recruits and do this and do that, like, I make more recruiting and retention calls than probably anybody else. Like, it's actually one of my favorite parts of my job. So if you're going to ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself and actually prove it that you're willing to do it, you're not a good leader. You got to be willing. Servant leadership is the way to go. Number 1.
Gotcha.
The other big one that I've learned is and this is probably the biggest, the higher you go up, the lower you go, meaning the higher you go up, the more your job is to make sure the people that are on your team, that you're doing everything in your power to help those that are on your team to make their job easier. Okay. So I have bi-monthly skip level meetings with my team, one-on-ones with my team. Right. So I have 2 direct reports, one that handles everything regarding our existing franchisees, and then the sale of ERA franchises. On the sales side, I skip level Frank, and I meet with our sales team every other month, one-on-one. Now, they can call me anytime. Everybody in the company, everybody, employees, agents, brokers. If I've ever spoken to you, you have my cell phone number, not a burner phone, like my legit cell phone. I'm on Fuel on stage in front of 1,000 people. I flash my cell phone number on the big, I'm here to help everybody. So that goes back to that whole thing. Like, I'm willing to do anything I ask my people to do. But then those skip level bi-monthly meetings allow me to get a pulse on what's really happening on the street too. Plus, I'm on the street a lot. But the way I end every single one of those one-on-one meetings is verbatim. What can I do to make your life easier? And so as a leader, my job is to make my team's life easier.
Love it.
The last one is a very famous quote, no idea who it's by, that says, success has many fathers, failure is an orphan. Okay. A lot of people want to own the success. Nobody wants to own the failures. And when we come to our team delivering good news and bad news, okay, I allow our team to deliver the good news. Very rarely do I call a broker to deliver the good news myself. If I do, I'm the second phone call. I allow my team to own it, they make it, and then I may follow it up. If it's bad news, I make the call and I own it. My team doesn't make the call.
Wow.
Okay? So those are probably that's a great, and by the way, I didn't even look at whatever questions you had sent me.
Actually, that wasn't even on the question, so there you go.
Yeah, those are the 3 that I would tell you stand out the most.
They were awesome, and I love the last one especially. All right, before I turn it over, I do have some rapid questions, like 1-sentence answer, because somebody actually wrote one of those here. Now we've already covered that. What's your favorite book?
Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. If you Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Chris Voss was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI. You know, if somebody had 4 hostages, he couldn't say, hey, kill 2, give me the other 2. His goal as a negotiator was to get the 4 out. I've read that book, no lie, probably 7-8 times. Wow. I have a section of Cliff Notes in my phone. That book will completely change your life.
Wow.
For your kids, if you're for your significant other, if your dating life, your real estate life, never split the difference.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Sarah, for putting that there. I'm a little disappointed you didn't say how to become a power agent in real estate in my book, but that's all right.
Number two. That's number two.
No. See, no, you missed it.
Too late now.
All right. The next one is your favorite movie.
Did you star in any movies?
You didn't miss a beat there. That was perfect delivery, perfect timing. No, I didn't star in it. I was in the Toxic Avenger, but that was a long time ago. So
there you go, Toxic Avenger. I'm not really a big movie guy. I think one of my favorite TV series.
Okay.
I loved. Interestingly enough, I never watched it until this year or late last year, and my girlfriend was like, "Have you ever watched Game of Thrones?" And I was, no. And I got into Game of Thrones and like binge watched it on the planes.
Awesome.
At night when I don't want to talk to anybody. Loved Game of Thrones. Thanks to my girlfriend.
That's awesome. All right. Your favorite expression.
Oh. Favorite expression. LTFS. Life's too effing short.
Love it. Okay, that's great. All right, we're gonna go to the questions now. And by the way, my favorite series I'm watching right now is on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's an old one, but it's called Turn, and it's about the spy, George Washington during the Revolution, his spies, the spy ring on how we helped win the war. So
it was a documentary?
No, it's a movie, a series. It's not a documentary. It's how many seasons? 5. I got like 3 episodes left. I can't wait to find who wins the war. But
is it based? It's not based on real life.
It is. It's based, but there's some creative aspects to it. But it focuses on the spy ring with the spies that we had against Britain. It's very, very fascinating. Great acting.
I'm fascinated by how things work. I love documentaries. Like those are some of my favorite things just educate myself or watching documentaries and stuff like that. Actually, there's a great documentary called it's a number. It's a date. It's like 11/22/63. It was the assassination date of John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
For a reason, this was filmed a while ago and it's making its way back onto Netflix now. And it talks about, it's like a Stephen King where this guy travels back in time and tries to avert.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that. It's coming back though, right? Because that's old. I did see that, and awesome. All right, let's do this. Julie, you want to read the questions, or should I read them, or what?
Which would you prefer? We also have questions that came in advance.
Let's do that. Do that. Yes. Thanks, Sarah, for reminding me. So some people emailed their questions in advance, Alex. So we'll start with those. Go ahead, Sarah or Julie.
Perfect. I do want to say I loved your Success Has Many Fathers, and that was JFK. You just mentioned JFK.
Oh, interesting.
JFK, so
now I know.
After the Bay of Pigs. So that's crazy. Let's go. So first question, John Canino, do you need a big social media presence to be successful?
No, you need a phone.
Love it. You and Darryl are simpatico on that one. Nicole said, everyone in the industry says add value. What is your idea of value, and how do you stand out above other agents that are doing the same thing?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. Well, value is only important to the receiver of who you're speaking to, right? And this is something we talk about all the time. You don't necessarily have to go wide and shallow. You're better off picking a few things and going deep, but you have to figure out what those things are. And so like as agents, let's call it listing agents, buyer's agents, there's 1,000 things that we can do that, to get a real estate transaction done or get a home sold faster, make more money or whatever it is. But it doesn't matter if the seller or the customer only cares about these 3 things. So your best way in adding value is making sure that whatever it is that you do hits what is important to them. So let me give you an example. Darryl, you and I joked off screen before this started about how I learned more with marriage counseling, even though it led to 2 divorces. It helped me get almost every single listing that I was in front of. And it was about understanding that, one, setting the stage. And so like if I was meeting with you as a seller, it was very simple. Like 3 things, one of 3 things is going to happen today. Like we're going to partner together, and that's a beautiful thing. you may decide to not partner with me, and that happens rarely, but it happens. Or I may decide I may not be able to take your listing. And one of those, one of those three things is going to happen based on what your expectations are and whether or not I feel like I can exceed them or whether you feel I can exceed them. And so, like, in order to determine whether I'm valuable to you or not, we need to have a conversation about what your expectations are. And if your expectations, if I feel that I can meet your expectations and exceed them, then I can have a conversation on how what I do is the value to what you're trying to accomplish. So value is an abstract thing. You got to figure out what the customer wants, clarify it. Like if somebody says they want their home sold fast, what's fast to them? Remember, we're in the business every day. They do this once every 12 years, whatever the number is. So like, what's fast to you? 30 days. Great. Is that close it in 30 days or go to contract in 30 days? I want $500,000. Awesome. How did you come up with that number? Like, start to understand how they got to whatever it is. Never assume. And when you're done and you tell me, hey, listen, you've told me you want your home under contract in 30 days, closing 30 days after that. $500,000, and you came up with that because that's what Zillow told you. You want as many people through the home. Like you told me you want open houses, but really the importance of that is you want as many people in the door and as much exposure as possible. And if I can do those three things, have I not only met your expectations, but exceeded them? And they tell you yes. Well, now I can take this toolbox of things that I do and pick out the ones that are going to hit those three things. And so value only matters if it's important to whom you're speaking to. But in order to know whether it's valuable to them is you got to find out what they want.
And there's a second point I'd like to just add to that, because this has come up a lot lately, Alex, where like I had this one, I'll bring it back to the question in just a second, but I had a power agent who posted something, and so it made me call them, and they're older in years. I mean, not, like my age, and you're younger than me. So, but she felt disempowered because the team she's on are all full of younger kids and they're all talking this tech, And so she started to feel maybe less than of her value. And so I'm now like on this thing of trying to tell people that you've got to find your voice because you do have value. You can't compare yourself to others and say, I wish I was more like that, or how do I do TikTok? Maybe I should do that. So I guess the point that I'm making here is that each one of us has our own voice, our own style, our own talents. And so when going on a listing appointment, for example, finding out what that value is for them, and then using your strength to help them get there. Don't feel like you have to be not you, that you have to be something else, because then you won't be authentic, it won't work for you, and it'll rob your joy. So
yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, think about this, especially like if I was going up against an agent that had big social media and I had no social media, and I'll ask you this question, Darryl, we can even ask the audience, like, when's the last time someone called you and just asked you how you were doing? Right? No other intention, just how you doing? Darryl, you know what? I saw you were in Las Vegas last week. I'm going to Vegas next week. I don't know if you were in Vegas. I'm just making this up, but like made me think about you. I just wanted to call and see how you were doing. That just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
And so like that is something that if something's big on social media, I guarantee you they're not making that call. No. And that call is worth 1,000,000 times more than somebody getting a bunch of views from who knows where with people that are never going to transact with them.
I totally agree with that. Okay.
A bell we can ring for that. I like that.
All right, Jules, next question.
Next, Michael, how do you build a system to recruit agents?
Ooh, that's actually not as hard as you think. Okay, so here are the 4 ways I love recruiting agents. I think I think I'm good at 2 things, and I try to have a team that helps me with everything else. And that's recruiting and coaching. From a recruiting perspective, in this order, these are the best 4 recruits you can call. Number 1 are the recruits that have been referred to you by other agents in your office. If I can call Darryl and say, hey, Darryl, we need to meet. And Darryl's like, about what? And I say, well, Julie doesn't leave me alone she's not going to leave me alone until you and I get coffee together. So we need to meet. Okay. That's much more powerful than if I'm calling Darryl, say, hey, Darryl, you're a great agent. I'd love to talk to you about ERA. All right. And we can get further into that. I mean, I don't think I have a hard stop at the top of the hour. You may.
No, I'm fine.
So if you wanted to keep going, we can. So that's the number one type of recruit. The second type of recruit you want to call are your co-op agents. Okay. The third one are agents who have left you. And then the fourth one are intentional cold calls, meaning I live in Old East Dallas. I want to grow my market share in Old East Dallas. I know Darryl specializes in that market. And so I'm going to target Darryl with a conversation that is saying strategic, like, Darryl, we need to meet about what?
Yeah.
You are absolutely crushing it in Old East Dallas. You have more listings than anybody else. We want to make a play in that market. So we want to make you our horse on there and go that route.
Awesome. Very great. Well, that was super. Just that second one. What was the second one again? Because I think I want to ask
you have agents who have been referred to you by other agents in your office. Co-op agents, the ones that
you mean. Yeah, co-op. What do you mean by co-op?
Yeah, meaning like Darryl, you're under contract with Julie. He's with another company, and so you're my agent. You're the co-op.
Okay, got it. Okay, that was the
agents who have left you, and then the strategic cold call. And if you want to know, you can build like recruiting referral systems. Meaning, hey, Darryl refers me Julie. I hire Julie. Darryl gets cut in on the action on some way, shape, or form. And if you want to ask your agents, just ask them a very simple question. If you had to list your home with anybody that was not with your ex-brokerage, who would you list your home with? Right? And you'll get the good agents.
Love it.
What's that, Jules?
I love it.
Yeah, and one more thing for the leaders, just like you would tell your agents, like if your agents were like, how can I get more listings? What would you tell them, right? And then with that, you probably tell them you should have a chart. You should have something to track it, so that way you get motivated that every time you get an appointment, you give yourself a little star or something like that. So brokers and managers, whatever you would tell your agents on how to get listings and stay focused on that, well, your version of the listing is the recruit. It's the same thing.
Different widget.
Yeah, different widget, but it's the same process. All right, Jules, let's go to some of the live ones. We'll go back to the other questions in a second. I'm going to read Joe's. From your seat as president of ERA, what do you think the real estate industry must get right in the next 5 years?
Oh, my seat there must get right. This is going to be the most boring answer because we've harped about it. All right, is the relationship. Right.
Okay.
So if I look at the top 5 reasons why a customer becomes an online lead to somebody else, and if you don't mind, I'm going to pull up my notes on this.
Sure.
I think we have a brokerage that gets a lot of leads from one of our online portals, right? And I sat with them and I'm like, you guys are doing so much business in a major market. Why are people becoming your customer instead of, coming to you directly? And so I'm going through my notes. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Good. Take your time.
Number one reason why somebody becomes an online lead, they don't know anyone in the market. Number 2, they didn't want to upset anyone in their sphere of influence. Those 12 or 13 people, nobody was the clear favorite. So they went ahead and became an online lead and dealt with a stranger and just didn't tell anybody that they know that they were transacting. They wanted privacy, and their friends not knowing their personal business was number 3. Number 4, speed. The fact that they can submit Redfin, Zillow, whatever you name it, and within 30 seconds, they're going to have somebody call them. And number 5 was they didn't want to bother their realtor. Okay. So when I look at why customers are choosing to become an online lead versus use their realtor, the thing that we can get right is by making sure our customers feel comfortable enough and becoming the clear favorite so that none of this other crap happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's an article right there. That what you just said. That's brilliant. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to ask my team to help me with that. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's that's an article you need to write, man. That's awesome. Okay. Awilda Gonzalez Rodriguez said, Alex, how do you feel about our Latino market as we are being blasted since the growth is phenomenal? Not to take away from anyone else, but do you relate to that with respect to your growth as agents?
I don't know if I necessarily relate to it for that example. I think the Hispanic market is a market that has definitely the most potential. And as an industry and as an agent, there are opportunities for us, and we're looking at how we do this at ERA, to be able to provide more education and just more materials in Spanish so that we can reach our customer where they are rather than asking our customer to come to where we are. Yeah, it was interesting. When I became the first Hispanic brand president, I actually did not talk about it a lot. because I skipped levels. So to give you an idea, I was the regional vice president for Coldwell Banker here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Coldwell Banker has two arms to it. They have the branches that are owned by the company, and then they have the franchises. So I worked for the 10 offices and oversaw the 10 offices that were owned by the company. And at the time, Coldwell Banker had about 60 plus regional vice presidents throughout the country. They had I don't know how many state presidents, and then they had regional presidents and so on and so forth. So I went from an RVP with 4 layers in between, and skip leveled all that to become a brand president.
Wow.
And at first, I didn't really talk about it because I didn't want people to be like, oh, he got promoted
because of that.
Because he was Hispanic. I wanted to go out there and kick everybody's ass and then be like, oh, okay, now we see why he's president. And I remember sitting with Gary Acosta, who is the founder of NAREP, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. And when I sat with Gary, I'm like, Gary, I'm having this dilemma. Like I'm the first Hispanic brand president. There are others now, like Leo Perea with EXP and others. And I remember, and he goes, Alex, one of my best friends who's worth $500 million went to Harvard Business School. He was the only Latino in Harvard Business School. And everybody else who was there were blue bloods. I'm like, well, what's a blue blood? It's like, people, and he kind of explained, he goes, and he didn't want anybody to know he was Hispanic because he was there because he was Hispanic.
Okay.
And he goes, everybody there was bragging about the fact that they got into Harvard Business School because their parents made big donations to Harvard and as a result got into business school. And they were all bragging about it. And he was telling me the story about how he's like, well, screw it. If they're bragging about the fact that they got in because their parents made money, I'm gonna brag about the fact that I got in because I was Latino. And that really changed the way I thought about being the first Hispanic brand president, because whether it was a competitive advantage or not, I've proven my worth as president now. That's something I should lean on. So like when we do our coaching program within ERA, we now offer it in Spanish as well, because I'm one of the few I'm one of the few presidents that coach their agents, period. If not the only, but definitely one of the few that speak Spanish. And I'm using that as a competitive advantage. Right. So.
But we're losing your signal.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was funky.
Yeah, I don't know if that was you or me, but I'm using it to my advantage now. So,
and that makes total sense. And I got to just say something on the side. So I started trying to learn Italian because I'm Italian. I feel like I should know how to speak Italian, and my wife, she speaks Italian a little bit. And I'm having a tough time, and I keep forgetting how to say croissant, for example. A million times she says it, and I still can't have it stick. And she said something very profound to me. She said, just imagine how it is for Hispanics here in the States where English is not their first, and how they're trying to navigate that. And boy, when she said that, Alex, it totally changed how I feel about people who stumble with English, more grace that I want to give them now, because I can feel how hard it is, So, but Julie pointed out something, because we know how important that market is. All of our training material, the 2,000 pieces we have, there's an English version and a Hispanic version.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, we did that because we felt that was the right thing to do. All right. Wendy, Cole, I'm going to jump to Wendy's question. COVID has really changed the office culture, in my opinion, to a detriment. We have fewer and fewer agents coming into the office. How can I help encourage our team to come together, collaborate? Synergy and teamwork are crucial to the success, in my opinion.
Oh, so this is a hard truth answer, right? This is where I tell people the way it is, and if they like it, great, and if they don't, great. They're not coming in because they don't see value in their time in coming into the office. So how do you have to think about how you go about creating value for them to want to come into the office enough. If your sales meetings aren't great and you're only offering them via Zoom or in person, you may want to say, if you want to be a part of our sales meeting, you can only come in person. There's no more Zoom anymore. Things like that. Like if they're not coming in because they don't see value, as simple as that. So you have to look at what are things that I can do to create enough value for them to say, it's worth it for me to get dressed, come in. So for example, when we do, and I know you have your own coaching program, Darryl, so what we do is ERA specific. And that's
yeah, that's fine.
When we do it, because our brokers have that issue. We do it in a way that the agents cannot attend virtually. They have to attend in office. And then as an office, they have to tune in as a watch party. And the way that evolved was I was always doing it in person. COVID hit, moved to Dallas in the middle of COVID. And then I started doing it for my offices here in Dallas, Fort Worth in person. And my boss at the time, my boss's boss, who oversaw the central region for Coldwell Banker, said, "Hey, I want you to do this for the entire central region for Coldwell Banker." And it was like, "Greg," his name's Greg Rand. I'm like, "Greg, I can't. Like, I'm a Miami Cuban, man. I come into the office, I talk with my hands, I'm loud, like I got to be there." He's like, "Well, you got to figure it out." I'm like, "Well, I can't." Well, this was back in a time where, depending on who got COVID, if you got COVID or somebody in your family got COVID, it was worse if somebody in your family got COVID. If somebody in your household got COVID, you had to wait the 2 weeks for them to write it out and then wait another week to make sure that you didn't
right. Catch it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where if you got
Show
it,
symptoms.
yeah, correct. And so this happened in the middle of my coaching program. And I remember telling one of my offices at the time, I said, "Listen, do this. I was going to show up there Wednesday anyways. Just set up a camera in the front, have them come in, and I'll just do it like if I'm standing in, like if I'm like a hologram almost in the front."
Right.
But I remember calling Greg and saying we figured it out, and we launched. And the first time we launched, we had 81 offices in the we had those 81 offices for Coldwell Banker in the central region sign up. Then we had the next round, we opened it up to the country, and we had 230 offices for Coldwell Banker signed up, where the agents had to come into the office and then as an office tune into us as a watch party. And we had 200 plus watch parties across the country. That got because the only way you could attend is if you attended in office, and it was something of value that got them in. So you have to start thinking about, what am I doing that is going to be of value, that's going to make it enough for them to want to get dressed and come in.
Yeah, and just to highlight on that too, for Wendy and anybody else that found that valuable, is that that's an example of breakdown equals breakthrough. Like, because of COVID, you had to until that, you couldn't figure out how to make it happen, but now you were forced to do it, and you turned a breakdown into a breakthrough, and now it's part of your whole process. So
I am 99.9% certain one of the main reasons why I got promoted was the fact that the coaching program had gone national and gave me the exposure at the national level and gave them proof that I could be in front of a national audience and kind of get along with everybody kind of deal.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Julie, let's go to another question that was written in advance.
Sure. And I think Tamala has kind of a lot of questions rolled into one, but it takes some of other people's questions into consideration.
Okay.
She gets solicited for a lot of marketing. Everybody's trying to get money out of agents. Seems like scaling your business is nearly impossible. I get to a certain level, then I stop. Biggest question is, how do I accomplish moving to the next level without breaking the bank? I'm willing to put money into my business, but where? And I'm burned out. I'm exhausted. I feel like a lot of people feel this way. Database disappeared. I'm stressed out. I'm trying to choose tools that will work, but I'm having a hard time. I'm not tech savvy.
Yep. Got it. Okay. That's a 30,000 foot view. You want to live a better life and make more money. And what I do is, hey, Darryl, do me a favor. Can you just say something so you pop up on my screen? Because when I have it on speaker view. So just say, "What's up, Alex?" So it shows me view, and at least I feel like I'm talking to you because Julie has her face off.
What's up, Alex?
Okay. All right. So here's what I would coach an agent on in that particular scenario. Number one is the easiest path to taking some things off your plate is hiring a transaction coordinator. Like that's real estate 101. There's really three things as an agent that you should be focused on. You should be focused on prospecting for more business. You should be going on listing presentations, and maybe you should be showing buyers property. And I can handle that one in a second. Okay. But at a minimum, you need to be hiring a transaction coordinator because you only pay them at closing. If it doesn't close, you don't pay. You're no money out of pocket. And what you can do is, if you're one of those people that are afraid to quote unquote give up control, which is never really the case. Usually somebody doesn't want to hire a transaction coordinator because when you do that, you're giving yourself the gift of time. And as coaches, Darryl, what do we do when people get more time? We ask them to go prospect more. What do they doing? They hate prospecting. So they don't hire help, and they mask it as they don't want to give up control. That's a very real truth. With that said, you hire a transaction coordinator. If you're afraid of things falling through the cracks, you should have a timeline of what is due and when and by whom. And you should be checking in with your transaction coordinator hey, this is what's due today in the morning. Make sure it's done. I'm going to check in with you by 3 o'clock. That way, if it's not done, you're building yourself a buffer that you can fix it in the event that they don't get it done. But transaction coordinator is the first way to go. The second way to go is to hire an assistant. Now, in hiring an assistant, I often get asked, well, can you give me the job description for the top agents and their assistant? Well, the reality is what you do and what you're good at and what you want to do may be completely different than anybody else. So my homework in that case is two things. Number one, figure out what you're willing to commit to financially a month, every single month for the first 6 months. You got to give something a 6 months try, because if not, then you're not really knowing whether it's working or not. So if it's $500 a month, that's $3,000. If you're willing to commit $6,000 to it, that's $1,000 a month. Then you back into, okay, how many hours is that? $15 an hour, $20 an hour, gives you how many hours you need. But then you got to figure out what the job description is. And the way you do that is every day for the next 2 weeks, just create a note in your phone, hate to do. And every time you're doing something that you hate to do, make a list, right? And in 2 weeks' time, you're going to have a job description, somebody that you can hire based on how much you can afford, based on how many hours. And that's how you save yourself the burnt end feeling to allow yourself to do what you do best, which is to focus on your clients and outsource the rest. Long story long, but the first path to that is hire a transaction coordinator.
Got it. Wow, that was great. Very good. Next one, Jules.
I love it. I'm going to combine more. Lots of people burnt out. How do I remotivate to get to my next level? Three questions in one.
Yeah. So you can't make it about money, right?
Yep.
Money is a very fleeting moment. I remember when let's talk about the wealth that we talked about in the very beginning about watches. And I got promoted to brand president. I went out and I wanted to buy a Rolex like 10 years ago. And my ex-wife was like, how much is the Rolex? And I was like, oh, like 10 grand. And she goes, we can remodel a bathroom for that. And we ended up remodeling the bathroom. And I said, all right, when I get promoted, when I go national, my gift to myself is I'm going to buy my first nice watch. And sure enough, I went and I bought it. And I remember buying it and I wear it, right? And I'm going to pass my watches on to my son, to my 4 boys at some point. But like, it wasn't so much about buying the watch as it was the journey to becoming national. My Ironman, I put in 400 hours of training in 6 months to cross that finish line in 13 hours. Now, crossing the finish line, I bawled like a baby. It was an amazing moment. It's a very fleeting moment. You have to remember why you're doing what you're doing, and it's not the dollar income. And so the best example I can give was I was speaking to a group in Colorado Springs, and I asked somebody what their goal was. And their goal was, I want to make an extra $75,000 this year, $50,000, whatever it was. That's my motivation. I'm like, that's not your motivation. Like, what are you going to do with the money? You're going to save it? What are you going to do? She goes, she was a grandmother. She goes, I'm going to take my daughter and my granddaughter to Athens. Because one of my granddaughter's dreams, and I forgot why, is to have coffee in the morning in Athens, Greece. And I want to take my son and my grandson to the Colosseum because my grandson has seen the movies and he wants to walk the Colosseum. And I want to see his face when he walks into the Colosseum and just like thinking about the gladiators and the lions and the da-da-da and like all that stuff. She goes, so that's what I'm going to do with my money. And I was like, when you don't get out of bed in the morning, when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, I want you to think about your granddaughter's face and having that coffee or that tea in Athens, or your grandson's face walking into the Colosseum. And so you have to figure out, it's not the dollar outcome. It's what does that allow you to do in your life? And how does your life change as a result of accomplishing that? And so how you find your mojo again and how you find your why is what you're going to, if and when you become successful, what are you going to achieve as a result? That's got to be the why.
Awesome. Perfect. Julie, I'm going to read this Arcay's question that just came in. Mr. Alex.
Yeah.
What if you're new to the business? You don't have a sphere or a database. You're nowhere near getting a transaction coordinator or assistant. How do you get listings or compete with top producing agents?
Oh, amen, baby. Let's rock on this one.
I knew you would love that question. That's why I wanted to get it in there.
Yeah. Who asked that question?
It's Rob K is his name.
All right, Rob. So you are living exactly what my 28-year-old son is living. just moved to Dallas in middle of December, started his real estate journey in January. My sphere of influence in Dallas, for the most part, is realtors, right? And so he knows nobody. And he asked me, he goes, and he's trying all this social media, and he's doing great. He's getting hundreds of thousands of views and impressions and all that stuff. And I said, what are you doing today to meet new people? And we started talking about it. And I said, okay, for the next 30 days, I want something on your calendar that is proactive to put yourself in front of new people. You can do it a bunch of different ways. Every Saturday and Sunday, what do we do? Open houses. One of the most successful agents in Miami. The guy does 300-400 million a year in sales by himself. His first year, Nelson Gonzalez, his first year in the business, held an open house every single Saturday and Sunday for a year to get himself in front of more people. That's one. The other one is I was a big door knocker when I sold real estate, and I was competing against two guys that dominated my farm area was a neighborhood called Keystone Point in Miami.
Okay.
These guys had 90% market share.
Wow.
And I started door knocking, and what I realized was, even though these two agents dominated that market, nobody wanted to go up against them for that reason. Nobody, like, they think that they're going to lose because these agents dominate the market. The reality is nobody ever wanted to go up against those agents, not giving the consumer a choice with whom to list their home with. So I actually prefer when an agent dominates a market, because now I can go in and be the alternative, because these two guys were jerks. You know, and they are. They probably still are. Door knock every single day in my farm area. And that's a whole different conversation. But my son came up with the calendar where for the next 30 days, he was holding 8 open houses. He knew what communities he was door knocking and the ones that made sense for him to door knock. He met a developer who he was able to, the developer was like, hey, I don't have representation here on Wednesdays. Do you want to sit here every Wednesday all day and pick up any buyers that come in? Yeah. Already got his first listing, has a deal that's about to close, and he's working with 3 buyers right now as a result of having something on his calendar proactively every single day to put himself in front of people.
Awesome. Easy peasy. That's a great answer. All right. So Julie, so let's go to some of those old questions that you've got.
Yeah, I would like to combine another couple, and that is, what do you think of AI as a tool in our business, and are you concerned at all about how it affects real estate and agents?
Absolutely not. AI is, so Darryl, do you guys coach a lot on AI?
We actually have our own, I'm proud to say we're the first real estate coaching company to have our own AI coach that's not ChatGPT repat. Like we actually purchase our own. So yeah, we're into it.
Okay. So here's what I think about AI. AI is a fabulous way to give yourself more efficiency. It's a fabulous way to put yourself in front of more consumers. But at some point, the AI runs out, and you have to be able to talk the talk. And I'm going to give you 2 recent examples. I used AI. I love car shopping, like absolutely love it. I used AI to pin 5 dealers up against each other to purchase a car for one of my twins who just turned 16. The other one, we bought a used car. It was easy. The other one wanted a Toyota Corolla hatchback. We were going to lease it, because we wanted at least one of them to have a new car. And I got this killer deal that nobody else could touch. And what do you think happened as soon as I got into the finance office? Well, let's talk about the lease protection, and you need gap, and you need this, and you need that. And they try to
upsell you on all these other things. Yeah.
To try to back out of the good deal. And I couldn't go to my phone and say, well, hold on a second. Let me look at my phone and see what it tells me. I had to rely on my own negotiation skill to walk through that process. And even as early as yesterday, as recent as yesterday, we have a really big deal that we're working on that is bigger than anything we've ever done. And I knew that finance and legal had some concerns with the deal complexity. I went into Copilot, dropped in everything I knew about the deal, and I literally instructed it to say, I need you to create a case for me that is written by Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference.
Okay.
Knowing that in a lingo that the CFO of a large publicly traded company would understand, and help this make sense for me. And I kind of walked it through, and it literally gave me a case. And so I then had to get in front of our entire finance and legal committee and present that. Now, AI helped me build it, but I had to rely on my own skill set to present it.
Sure.
So AI is a wonderful tool, and we can spend another 2 hours on AI to get in front of more people. You can use it so that Claude and Perplexity and ChatGPT can recognize you, and you have to understand how those AI platforms recommend you as a realtor. You gotta hack the system and do all that and learn how it can help you become more efficient. But as you do that, make sure you don't lose the ability to be face to face, belly to belly, palm to palm.
Yeah, and I don't know if this question came from that, and we're going to come to an end in a second, but I don't know if that question came from NBC television spot where somebody, was it in Florida? I don't know where it was.
Yeah, Cooper City. Tom Ferry did a video on it. Yeah.
Oh, where he sold his own. Oh, that's good that time.
But it's like he still paid a buyer's agent. He still had to pay an attorney to do his side, and more than likely undervalued his house.
Exactly. That's exactly. I mean, anybody, because here's what I said, when he said he got 3 offers in 72 hours, I immediately thought, well, that's because you underpriced it. That's why. If you used an agent, that wouldn't happen because we don't. Anyway, so
right.
I want to say something to everybody because they want this recording so bad. So, Julie, can you put in the chat the link to the podcast so that way they can check it out in a couple of weeks when this will be launched? Plus, they can see the other interviews as well. Or Sarah do that. And then
if they want to follow me on Instagram or whatever, I'm pretty active on there.
Give your information that you want.
Yeah. Best way to reach me is Instagram. It's my last name and then my first name, Vidal at Vidal Alex. So the reverse of my name, last name first and then first name.
Got it. All right, cool. All right. Is there any other questions, Julia, that are pressing, or should we bring it to a close?
No, I mean, I think if you can cover maybe Joe's question and then just a life balance, because you feel like you have all that energy, maybe a life work balance question, and then Joe's, and I think we can.
That's a good idea because I'm ready to take a nap after this interview with Alex. For God's sakes,
you're wearing Darryl out here.
What was Joe's question?
I'll read it. Yeah, it's here. For years, brokerage growth has revolved around recruiting agents. In the next phase of the industry, do you think the competitive advantage will still be recruiting or building stronger systems that help the agents you already have succeed?
All of the above. When we speak to a prospect that may be considering, purchasing an ERA franchise, we talk about one of the main things we talk about are the 3 ways in which you can grow your brokerage. One is what you already have in your house. Like you already have these agents. These agents may go home every night and may not come back the next day. The way you prevent them from leaving your brokerage and staying with you is by helping them live a better life and make more money and helping them become more productive. That way they stay with you. The more productive they are, the more money they make and the more money that you make, quite frankly. So that's number 1. Number 2 is recruiting. And then for companies like ours, the M&A perspective as well. Those are the 3 ways to grow brokerage. M&A, and then ancillary revenue like mortgage, title, insurance, and all those things that your brokerage can feed into. That's how you can have a very profitable brokerage. And on the life balance,
Well, before you jump there, because I want to embellish on this real quick, because your thoughts on because it ties into Joe's question, your thoughts about the Compass and Anywhere merger. And I think there was something else in regards to that. I guess, that's pretty much it. Your thoughts about.
Well, I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked for ERA in particular because, Compass International Holdings now has 9 brands. You have the 6 from Anywhere, ERA, Better Homes and Garden, Corcoran, Sotheby's, Century 21, and Coldwell Banker. And you have the 3 from Compass, At Properties, and Christie's International. So now under this umbrella, you have 9 of some of what are the most powerful brands in the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super awesome. And we have those 9 because somebody that's at Sotheby's necessarily won't be at ERA and vice versa, like different strokes for different folks. But we are the only one of the 9 brands that actually has what we call a powered by model. So if you were Darryl Davis Realty and you wanted hey, I want in on what they're doing. I want in on the collective power. I want in on the technology. I want in on all that stuff. But man, I worked really hard to build Darryl Davis Realty. I don't want to give that up. Well, we're the only one of the 9 brands that actually allows you to come into the family and remain Darryl Davis powered by ERA versus having to attach a Coldwell Banker Darryl Davis franchise or Century 21 Darryl Davis.
Oh, fascinating. I didn't know that.
So when they launched this back in September, the announcement that Compass was buying Anywhere, and then now we closed in January, I've said it and I've said it 1,000 times. We are the one brand that stands to benefit the most because of the fact that there are many people throughout the country that have worked really hard to build their brand and don't want to give it up. And I'm the one brand's like, okay, don't. And let's work there. So I'm super stoked with everything.
Cool.
That's happening.
Very cool. All right. Yes. Now the life balance. What would you say to somebody to get some more balance in their life?
There is no balance. It's amazing how when you cut out all the shit in your life that's an energy time suck, how you have time for everything, right? Like I wake up early, I work out every single morning. I have boundaries. Like having boundaries is a very real thing. And a lot of agents think that customers are going to leave, are not going to use them because they're not answering their call at 10:30 at night. Like you get what you tolerate, right? So I have very few things that I spend my time on. And as a result, it's like sometimes my kids require a lot more from me. Sometimes work requires a lot more from me. Sometimes I require a lot more from me just for myself, right? So having boundaries is super critical to having work-life balance. And the word no is a big thing too. Saying no a lot.
Well, and just to highlight that, when you don't say no, like you're afraid to lose business by saying no, or you're afraid to lose business because you have boundaries, that's actually, when you think about it, you're coming from a scarcity mentality. Yep. That you need to always be available and always say yes. And in an odd way, by you having that scarcity mentality, you actually create scarcity.
Yep.
So there's that piece to it as well. All right. So I got to say, I don't know about you all, but I thought this was one of our best interviews, Alex. So there you go.
Right. I don't want to hear one of. I want to hear the best. Lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me it was the best one. It's okay.
Can y'all jump into the chat and help us thank our
yes, Julie. Thank you. Everybody that are still with us, do me a favor, because I didn't pay Alex because I can't afford him. So you need to pay in kindness. Can you please write in the chat, what did you think? Send him some love. Tell him what was good for you. If you have an aha, if you want to write that as well, because we're going to send this chat to Alex, as we do with all of our interviewers, because these things, this conversation, Alex, made a difference in people's lives. I know that because you were also authentic, you were raw, you shared incredible stuff and great strategies as well. So I really am so thankful and grateful that you took the time out to make a difference to our audience. So thank you.
I love you, dude. You're awesome, man. Thank you for your time as well. And just like give me a follow, reach out, DM. I check all the time. And so if you need help with anything, just give me a holler. Okay.
Alex, thanks again, and we'll circle back. You and I would love to share the stage with you. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure.
All right, buddy. All right, thanks everybody. Keep smiling.